To trace the chain of Ibn Majah, before him Sahal bin Abu Sahal, then Muhammad bin Abdullah bin Yazid, then Sufyan Uyayna, then Ibn Shihab Zuhri, then Salim bin Abdullah, then Abdullah bin Amr. I mean, that's not all the, chains or something of the individual narrations. I mean, the authority of narrators of events. And Bukhari and Muslim had a bigger variety of the chains, you could say, or a more complete grouping. That's part of the reason why Bukhari and Muslim were picked first when people look for a couple things of authority here. Narration 757, that if one removes something harmful from the masjid or masala or mosque or whatever you want to call it, a house for them in paradise is built, in the hereafter. And the next narration is that the village are, daily prayer places of worship are to be cleaned and perfumed. Now, I don't mean with harsh chemical perfumes or filled with too much smoke that, it's harmful to the people. But certainly the good smells can be brought there. But perhaps not to the extent that people might for a puja, right? Tamimudari was the first person to bring a lamp into the masjid, according to 760. And 761 relates the incident where Muhammad saw dried spit or mucus or something on a wall of the masjid and told people that if you must spit, don't spit in front of you. Don't spit towards the Qibla. Well, that's not exactly stated, but yeah. But under your left foot are to your left. Narration 200 is about 3 things that God smiles upon. The prayer row, the person who does ritual in the middle of the night, the ritual prayer, and the person who fights in or of the battalion, of course, in the way of God, not just anybody who fights, right? There's a lot of conditions around narrations like this. And the next narration indicates kind of that, right? Is that Muhammad would, during the pilgrimage season, asked people for an escort to go speak to the people because the Quraysh were keeping him from conveying the message of his Lord. Lord is in Rub, God, not, quite a bit stronger than the Greek term Kyrie. Then we have a narration that explains Surah 55, ayat 22, that God's always forgiving, relieving, exalting, and abasing someone. 203 is one of those bid'ah narrations, right? about bid'ah. And, well, not in that sense of the word, right? Because it's always part of the religion. So whoever brings in something new, that's good. People will, they'll get the credit of all those that follow. And something bad, the credit of all those that follow, without diminishing from the reward or punishment of either. Now, of course, that word bid'ah is not there, so let's not fall into this good bid'ah, bad bid'ah thing, because they don't mean just general innovation when they say that. Narration 208 is that people will be made to stand on the day of resurrection next to that which they invited people towards, even if it's one person. And narration 210 brings in the whole thing of reviving a way of his, the inspired way of the prophet. And it talks about, of course, the bid'ah in context of sin. So the sin is that those innovations that are not part of the religion are the displeasing ones.